You fight back, and you said it, Dracos. If you watch the finals, you know that HLE won the first one, and then Gen.G won 2 in a row. Well, if they do that here,
spoil it.
Guess what? It's over. A little bit of a salty run back, but you know, when it's Gen.G, we don't call it a salty run back. We call it absolute genius. And I, for one, I'm just happy that our LEC faithful who come to the studio every week get to see a quality best of 3 play out in all its glory,
Does
baby.
it make it less salty if you win?
No.
No?
Yes.
No, it's still something. I think that the question, but they put them in a position where HLE had to ban the Yone.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if Chovy would have played it.
Checkmate.
But I think the second that they saw that ban, they're like, all right, we'll give it to you. We feel like that might have been the problem, so we'll just go run it back one more time without that particular card in the equation.
Yeah, we have a couple of replays to get through. First off, I want to get to the one where Gen.G really took control with a very clean team fight. I think a lot of that was reminiscent of the game before that, but here they also really shut the door.
Yeah, and you can just see the confidence on their engages. At this point in the game, they already have a pretty decent gold lead, but there's so many fights just like this where they're getting so much space out of using the Nocturne ult, out of these proactive engages coming in. The Aurora ult as well, isolating a lot of these key targets. Kiin is, in a lot of these fights, single-handedly zoning people away with like the threat of the ultimate, not even the ultimate itself. As long as he has that cooldown, it's so difficult for HLE to play these fights out.
I mean, it just looks so miserable, you know, for Viper on the other side, trying to play the Jhin in these situations, because they're always the one getting engaged on. Someone's always playing the fight in his face.
Azael, you were noticing during the game, right? We saw last game where we had this turnaround team fight by HLE, but also the utilization of Yone specifically, which we've seen in many other games as well. And you kind of wanted to talk about the difference between Yone and Akali or the class of champions in that same situation.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like you can try to replace Akali with, or try to replace Yone with Akali or Yasuo or a Sylas or something else like that. But the biggest difference is that when you're playing Yone, you do not have to commit yourself to these plays to actually fish for a kill. You can use that ult forward. You can be chasing someone so far to actually be looking for a kill like this. But in a situation like this, instead of him being able to snap back, he goes over the wall. He's going to actually put himself at risk of getting CC'd, of getting locked down, of getting burst down. And the other main difference is that Yone has so much follow-up CC. So when Rel goes in for a really big engage, Rumble drops the equalizer over the top, and Yone has that follow-up CC. You have the knock-up of your Q3, you have another little CC and knock together with your ulti as well that is holding them in that damage. So it's the safety, it's the follow-up CC, and I think that is really what is setting this champion apart from all the others in the same class.
And when you look at the champions that are so popular right now, the Jhin, the Rumble, I think Kai'Sa as well, these are champions who benefit so much from Yone, and if you swap that out for literally any other mid laner, it diminishes their effectiveness so much. Whether it's the follow-up CC, the damage, the CC to set up for Jhin, there was no poke in this game. Like, you always want something to hit long range with Jhin so that your W, that snare, feels like an actual real tool. And I feel so bad for Viper because once you fall behind against the Aurora Nocturne composition, you're not really playing League of Legends for the rest of the game.
It's difficult. I was holding out for that hero moment, but yeah. So you're saying Zeka is a one-trick Yone? Question mark?
He's got some more tricks.
He's got
just
more
the best
tricks.
Trick,
That's
okay?
just the best trick. It might be everybody's best trick.
It's a good trick.
I know, I'm purposely underselling him because I know he has something in the tank still, but we also want to take a look at our HyperX Reflex replay where Lehends drives the Rift Herald all the way home.
And it's really important to understand Lehends. He lives his life a quarter mile at a time, you know? Nothing else matters. Not his mortgage, not the house, not the family and all their bullshit. For these 10 seconds, Lehends is free. He's living his best life.
Lehends doesn't have friends. He's got family.
Look, and the thing is just, I've been told, shout out to Chronicler, he's like, Lehends is not allowed to drive. He does not have a license.
Usually,
On the team, they're like, no. Anyone else can take it, not you, sir.
Lehends is his own man. He clicks that Herald, he's in there.
We thought it was going to be, the mid lane matchup. We thought that's where we were going to be focused. But no, it's a coming of age story for Lehends as he's finally allowed to drive. He reaches out, he finds freedom.
I mean, allegedly behind the scenes, he's driving a lot as well, right? We always hear these epic tales of him being a mastermind, right? When it comes to in-game decision making and strategy. We always say it, and everyone always gives the caveat, we hear this. I'm sure it's true because... Or it's just a misinformation campaign.
We can just make it up. It's true.
You know what? After a play like that, he deserves a little misinformation in his favor. Let's
start the misinformation campaign right now.
Let's lock it in.
Let's take a look at the side selection. I don't know if it's in yet.
Is it true that he also lanes for Chovy?
I've heard he does everything at the same time.
Wow.
I believe you know, bold. Okay, HLE selects blue. That's probably the
Let's
safest
talk about
bet
that.
of all time. Well, now we're in a position where we finally get to see if Gen.G will ban the Yone. I think it would be the right choice at the very least, but it does mean potentially leaving open something like the Aurora. Don't know if it fits in terms of what Hanwha Life are really looking to do. Certainly HLE are in a much better position being on blue side this time around. There is pressure on Gen.G to at least change up a little bit in terms of the bans.
Okay, it's interesting to me because the situation is so different than it was for the LCK finals, right? Because we still had Tristana was still in the mix. We saw the Yone Corki matchup as well, like all the time. So I'm hoping it goes deep and we see like an exploration of that pool, but we might as well just end up with a Sylas as well. Who knows? Are there any lanes that we haven't been mentioning that actually could break this in favor of HLE now that they're on the blue side?
I mean, I think you do have to give credit to Viper because both the Ezreal and the Kai'Sa are banned away. Clearly, there's a lot of respect being paid to him. If they can take him off of one of these champions that really has the potential to solo carry the game, put him on something that has to facilitate someone else, then HLE are really put in a position where they have to have an ironclad draft because Jhin and Ashe are champions who, in the perfect circumstances, are insane in this meta, but otherwise, given the Ahris and everything else running around, can feel really, really useless.
Well, and I just feel like Jhin and Kai'Sa are the two that you almost most commonly are always going to be pairing with these heavy dive comps, and we've been seeing so much of these like 4 melee style comps, so I do think it kind of limits your options a little bit as far as the ADs if you want to go down that route. But I definitely am expecting Yone to get banned. My question is, will Ahri be taken away or banned by HLE on blue side, and what would then the shift become in mid lane? Because I think Chovy has been impressive, but less impressive than he has been regionally, especially as far as the laning is concerned. HLE winning out in some of these lanes, actually performing really well in those 1v1s is something that I wasn't expecting. I was expecting Gen.G to take this series pretty cleanly, to be honest.
Yep.
I think Yone, threw a bit of a wrench in the gears, but also HLE is just playing way better.
Yeah, it's interesting now because if we're looking at a Gen.G 2-1, you can go like, oh, that first game was only that gunfight by Delight and the Yone, whatever. But I do think you have to give HLE a little bit more credit than that. We're very close to heading out to the casters. Gut check, who's taking it? You say Gen.G?
I'm still on Gen.G.
I was on HLE after the game one, but Gen.G have just been more consistent across both games. Despite the explosive moments from Yone, despite 1 or 2 engages, Gen.G in general have just been in a better position and have been playing the map just that little bit better around early objectives, and it's really paid off. And they've got family. And Lehends is allowed to drive now, and that's big. That's very big.
It totally is. We're going to see if he's going to drive this straight into that 2-1, or if HLE is going to repeat their victory from the summer finals. Back over to my favorite.
Oh, shucks.
Well, thank you very much, everybody.
My
it's going to be
band
bad.
is the Yone band, actually.
Yeah,
so,
no,
that's my favorite.
Absolute perfection in the ban phase, but it is time for game number 3 of this series. The winner goes on. They secure their spot in quarterfinals. Obviously, the loser's still going to have plenty of chance, and they then become the Grim Reaper for everyone else at 2-1, I feel like, because both of these teams have looked so scary so far.
Yeah, I mean, I like that the analyst test also touched on how, like, the percentage of the game that you see Gen.G in control, even though they lost the first game, was still far above HLE, right? Because it was all off of that big comeback fight and then being able to snowball that and turn it into a victory. But Gen.G, that leads to this feeling of them having control in the series overall. And we all expect them to, being back on red side now, to make the small adjustment of actually banning out the Yone. And it seems like the way that it is going now, they should have the momentum. They should have the upper hand, but HLE have been able to upset them before, and now it's time to do it once again. There's the Yone.
I'm also curious what happens with things like the Kalista, because we've seen it now a couple of times. Just having so much control over that bot lane has really put Viper and Delight in awkward spots from the get-go. So do you try and get rid of some of that early aggression, or even take it for Viper early himself so that then he can have a bit more control? But there's just so many question marks, because even down to things like the Aurora, more than likely still going to be open. Is that something a Hanwha want to try and facilitate here?
All right, well, we've got the Skarner and Nidalee banned away, targeting the jungle here. Maokai, there's another jungle ban for you. The Yone and Jax banned out by Gen.G, and then the Ziggs removed from the pool by HLE. So let's see what they want to go with first here with that Aurora, like you're talking about, still open.
I think it gets slammed here, steal it away. Because if you don't, you know Gen.G are going right back to it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, never mind. They're going for the Smolder instead.
I gotta believe it's gonna be a Kiin Aurora again then. And then you're kind of looking at jungle too. here, since jungle has actually taken a lot of the bans as well for Canyon.
Yeah, it feels like the Nocturne again.
Yeah.
This seems to be the combo that they want to work with, which is throw down the Aurora ult and then just jump on whoever's stuck in it. But now, what do you try and respond here with? Is it going to be the Sejuani, just Peanut going back to basics?
I mean, I really liked the Nocturne for Canyon in the previous game, right? Like, I thought that was huge, the way that they were able to get those advantages with it offensively and defensively. But there you go, Dagda, you're right on the money. They're going back to basics. They're going back to Sejuani for Peanut.
Yeah, and it looks like the Gnar are going to be the answer. And I think this was a good shot. You could have some control in the lane and being able to contest at that range in the matchup. But it also meant when we got into team fights for game number 1, you could have that big engage to follow up a Peanut or even threaten when Aurora went for these big plays. So now it's just is it a Callista Slam, or do we get something different from Gen.G to try and set Peyz up for success?
Yeah, a lot of times
same again, of course.
A lot of times you'll talk to a solo laner and they'll be like, yeah, you know, I'm fine. I can pick this into the matchup. You know, I can pick the Gnar into the Aurora and it's fine. But the rest of your team are the ones that pay the price later because of the team fighting impact of the champion. And so it's, you know, it's a lot on like Viper to deal with that and Zeka to deal with that. And with him being on the Smolder now, definitely is going to be such a heavy target. But Gen.G, they came into this one with a very clear game plan and they are not deviating.
Now, what I'm really curious about for this game, and we'll learn a little bit more about potentially the answer to this question based on the last couple of picks. Last game we were talking about how Gen.G had all these dominant lanes, right? They were ahead in every lane in terms of farm, but yet we saw no lane swap. I feel like if you're looking at that Aurora again, if you're looking at a potential problem where you could be behind in multiple lanes, I'm expecting to see it. I don't want to see it, but I'm expecting to see it.
Yeah, I think so as well, and especially since we're probably going to get Jhin ban coming through here. Oh, actually going to be the Kai'Sa. Okay, so I thought they'd go for the Jhin ban to try and alleviate that from Viper as another kind of threat or setup. I think you end up in a spot where you can go for the same plan of hit the Mega Gnar level 2 as Doran, then TP down and still have your effect where you get to control that and come out with an early lead like we saw in game number 1 for Hanwha, whereas Kiin just end up getting a little bit pushed out of the lane in that initial play.
All right, Ashe, Callista, Ezreal, Kai'Sa, 4 bans, 4 marksmen in the second half of the draft. Let's see what Peyz wants to go with here. Already have the Aurora and Ahri, the AP solo laners, combined with that threat of the Nocturne for the engage and the incredible utility of the Paranoia. Expecting our supports to go for big, heavy engage, just like we've been seeing so far throughout the series as well. And all right, that's what they're going to go ahead and lock in first, put some priority on that Leona.
Now, HLE, like, they could... I mean, I guess they could deviate a little, but they already have the Smolder for mid too, so honestly, it's probably just going to be straightforward team fight from them.
I think that's why we didn't get the AD carry lock in, because if it was Jhin, I think you'd be comfortable send Smolder to the bottom side of the map, and that's why they went for the support pickup first. And then if not, well, then you could slam something like an MF and play with the Leona, play this hyper aggressive lane in the bottom side. So it kind of forces the Smolder in towards the mid lane, and now it's the Varus lock in to try and counteract it. But that's a lot of dive again for this Varus, and we kind of saw Peyz struggle with it in the game number 1, but at least the Renata paired alongside it gives at least a little bit of that pushback.
Right, you're talking about a lot of dive. Renata, one of the greatest anti-dive champions you can have, with the bailout to save the dive target. Hostile takeover, we already know how effective that is. Even the handshake just does wonders at being able to stop that forward motion from the enemy divers.
Yeah, I guess the other option I was kind of considering would be like a Xayah Rakan or something. For them, because then you have the Xayah option for actually dealing with the dive. But since it was red side Gen.G, they kept their pick hidden here for the end, and we're gonna have the Twitch range coming in.
First Twitch of the tournament.
You get the sneaky Twitch plays in addition to the map control that Gen.G have been able to set themselves up with, and the coverage of a Nocturne does seem even scarier.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The fact that you've got the invisibility of the Twitch and then this long-range engage coming through from the Nocturne, plus even an Ahri, the potential for the invisibility from the Aurora. This is a horrible game to try and play against this comp from Gen.G. But I will say it gives less control to Gen.G when it comes to the mid lane, and also then, mid lane in that mid game with the AD carry matchup, and even in the lane phase as well. So I think you have a bit of an answer here for Hanwha to play through that bottom side and scale into that late game, whereas they just couldn't get any sort of wiggle room in that last game number 2.
And I gotta say, after seeing the drafts here, I am favoring the Gen.G side. Not only do I like the late Twitch here to be able to pull off the sneak plays and the roam plays, But with the nerfed Smolder, like, I really feel like Chovy Ahri is going to have an impact, and they are going to be able to take control early. Canyon, as soon as he gets his level 6 on the Nocturne, it has been play after play for them.
Okay, so I'm looking it up. Peyz has a lifetime professional total of 1 Twitch game.
Yeah, but it was a dub.
Is a win. That is important. 100% win rate Twitch is the pick here in this deciding game for who's going to quarterfinals now and who's got to keep fighting as we move forward in the Swiss stage.
Oh, he's
HLE
hiding.
back on the blue. Oh, he's already there. Peyz just creeping around. All right, nothing to be found.
I thought he'd open up, but they didn't want to give away too much. Now Peyz will just kind of wander away from this one. But I do think the downside of Twitch is that you don't have as much push in the lane when you look at comparative, especially the hail of blades on this Varus. Looks like it will be Poke Varus that we're going to get as well. So
Cooldown on his Q should be up. They could go again.
I don't know how heavily you want to go on this though. I think it is just to try and spot out a potential lane swap again, maybe, but I don't think you want to hyper aggress here. I think it's actually, Gen.G were going for the lane swap because, again, I think your lane phase as Twitch just isn't strong at all here.
Just go ahead, give it up, trade that off, play for more of the later stages.
Yeah, I mean, your scaling is so good with Twitch. When you pop your ultimate, your range, very, very useful against what HLE are showing here. So definitely agree with it. Let's see how much they have to give up. Seems like no one is even going to stick around and try and steal away a camp from the enemy side. They're just agreeing, fine, lane swap. Should have even jungle start, both of them just on their own, quote-unquote, own Raptor side of the map, with top side there for Gen.G being their control with the duo. And again, they have done the normal supports mid here to get their level 2 top laners with their AD carries.
I do think, though, that the introduction of Smolder into the mix here has kind of put a bit of a timer on towards Gen.G. Like, yes, Twitch has great scaling, but I do think this Smolder just pops off so well in the later portion of the game, especially with the lockup in the front line that Hanwha have that Gen.G are missing. You need something to go your way early to maybe even set up Peyz to turn into this assassination Twitch instead. Otherwise, I think in that mega late game, I do favor Hanwha in this situation. And when Gen.G were playing so slow, so methodically in the last game, I think they actually need a bit more burst opening in this game.
I don't know. I love Twitch late game. I think I'm just going to fully invest. I'm going all in.
Okay.
Like, Twitch with range late game just feels so... Oh, wait a second.
Yeah, Lehends walking down here underneath the tier 1 turret, but the teleport will arrive. Kiin level 2 here on the Aurora, but man, Kiin is in some trouble. He flashes away, tries to use the weirding to keep himself alive. Delight survives the damage of the turret, and that's already a 1-0 for HLE here in the early game. They're about to make it 2. Peanut at least dies to the turret, so there's 1 traded back, but the play goes positive for HLE.
And this is why I was talking about the advantages for Hanwha. This is such a squishy team from Gen.G. Even on the rotation down, yes, you've got Lehends there, but this Aurora offers nothing, and now already a phenomenal start for the Hanwha squad.
My real big question after this is, what is Peanut going to do now? Because he actually goes down here, and since they did do their own side clear first, Canyon has a bunch of camps to pick up. We're watching the replay now. It's really nicely done on the first dive to juggle the tower aggro. It's only here in the second one that they give up number 2. Lehends is able to lock up Mr. Peanut under tower, and since he has Ignite late, but I really want to get back to live and see what's done with the jungle camps. Yeah, this is what I'm expecting, because Sejuani cleared his own red side first and then went for the dive immediately. Canyon got to cross over, and Canyon's going to have a very nice lead on jungle here, and especially with a Nocturne, that can cause, again, your whole team to have to pay that price. So while you do get the dive off, and the first kill was without response, getting the second kill, plus it actually gave over some jungle advantages there. Gen.G, like, it's not all bad.
Yeah, I think Canyon is the big benefactor for Gen.G, but for Hanwha, Viper coming in, serrated Dirk already completed, gives him a ton of control on this bottom side. The only upside, I think, for Gen.G in the spot side matches is you're playing against the Renata. She's not exactly a heavy engaged champ that can look to just hard in on towards a fight, as maybe Lehends actually looking for one, but I think you're in an okay position to just continue to farm as Peyz with that lack of engage support.
Nice little bit of a combo damage there between Delight and Viper's piercing arrow. That serrated dirt can lead to such an annoying trading pattern in the lane because it's just so easy for him to come out on top. As Doran just doing a little bit of proxy farming, Kiin needs to stay underneath the turret, farm up this big wave. Still a nice gold lead for HLE after the dive there in the bottom lane. Chovy versus Zeka back in the mid lane. Zeka is hitting that first break point on the stacking already so far. Pretty easy to hit that one. 25 giving you the AoE on the Qs to continue accelerating the speed of the farming there. Already has the first tier purchased as well after both mid laners have used that first TP. So wants to make sure that he's getting that stacked up as quickly as possible. Spamming out all those abilities, making sure that you're constantly moving as quickly as possible towards those larger breakpoints.
With the experience lead for Canyon, we're looking already at the Void Grubs. He can go Krugs over here towards it. And since bottom lane, they've actually kept both Delight and Viper down there for HLE. It really does seem like, well, even though they're actually getting the push, Lehends is already halfway up the river, so Lehends is kind of deciding right now.
I think it's taking a Void Grub against Canyon 6 as well.
Well, yeah, which way Lehends wants to go. So I think Lehends is doing a good job kind of hovering here. He could go to either. And Canyon jumping on these Void Grubs. He does have his smite ready, so could get his level 6 immediately.
Yup, and there it is. Canyon, level 6, first grub already down, Peanut retreating.
I just love what they did there. You know, Lehends hovering in the river, in the fog of war, as the wave is slowly pushing into them. They're not really concerned about it. Canyon finishes up the Krugs, goes right over to those Grubs. They finish it off, and that's how you really, even though the dive bottom did cost some extra gold, you leverage experience in this game, and his experience early on to just be more impactful than gold a lot of the time.
I mean, when you think about it, a champion leveling up gets, what, 300 to 400 gold in stats? Just having the extra level, boom, you're making up for that difference in gold as long as that champion's involved in the scrap.
I feel like especially for junglers, too, and junglers like Nocturne that can then affect the rest of the map. So we'll see what he does with his first ultimate. Mr. Canyon clearing down his bottom side, so
I think he wants to go bot lane here.
Yeah. Level 1 Paranoia, not the longest range, but it's long enough. Zenith Blade to lead the engage. Lehends starting it off as Viper still tries to escape. The cleanse ain't gonna do it. The bailout ain't gonna do it. The piercing arrow is not enough. Peanut shows up, but it's too little, it's too late. It's too good for Gen.G, who tie up the game 2-2.
Dude, when your jungler is ahead, oh, it feels good. Canyon's there first. Canyon's able to close the distance with his ultimate, and even though Peanut arrives late, that's just level 5 Sejuani. Great. Not really concerned, and so they get the early jump onto Viper, even with the flash, even with the cleanse. Successful move for Gen.G, and Canyon able to really leverage and snowball the early stages. But here's another look at the start.
A great engage from Lehends. The flash Zenith Blade catches out Viper and sets him up, gets the stun as well. And Viper could have tried to use the cleanse there, but instead believed in the handshake coming through, and then I think he just couldn't quite get away after that second stun came through from Lehends. And as you say, I mean, level 5 Sejuani is going to do nothing in this situation.
Dude, how sick of a move is Zenith Blade? Still get to go with him with his flash. So he got to go his flash distance, plus the Zenith Blade distance, plus Viper's flash distance.
It's like that part of the Toy Story, you know, where they're all running off the back of the van and they're just holding onto it, just following along wherever.
I'm coming too. All right, well, Canyon continues to leverage his jungle advantage into a dragon as well for Gen.G. It's been the story all 3 games of objectives for Gen.G and dragons especially for them.
All right, Gen.G pushing towards top here, just continuing to try to grab as much plate money as they can. Meanwhile, Canyon, he's got the first Drake, he's got the first 3 grubs, he's got the experience lead, he's got everything Nocturne could ask for here in the early game, having a great showing in this third one of the series. The gold is back to even as Viper and Delight try to maintain control and push. Here in this bottom lane, Zeka still doing a good job, making sure that you DPS the minions equally, farm them all up with the Q, get max stacks, and he's already up to 82 of those.
Chovy now moving down to cover bot lane, though. They still want to try and get this rotation for the Grubs in a minute's time. You already obviously have Peyz up here, but Lehends is moving down. They are fully convinced Hanwha are going to go for some sort of dive with Peanut hitting level 6, but everyone from Gen.G hiding on the map. waiting for Peanut to show himself.
Yeah, Peyz hiding all right, deep in that alcove. He's getting ready for some sneaky plays. We'll see. Once you get the Blade of the Ruin King for the Twitch, then you really become a menace, making everybody worry about your positioning. Every moment that you stay hidden, like this comp from Gen.G just puts so much like mental pressure on you.
Yeah.
Everybody worried about the picks.
I feel like there's so many champions we say that about. Yeah, once you get Blade of the Ruin King, you're good, dude. Just get in there.
It's a good first item.
Yeah, this seems like a pretty solid item. If it synergizes with your champion, I feel like that champion's doing pretty good. Anyway, even gold between the teams now. 15 seconds until the second set of the Void Grub spawns. Gen.G only needs to take a single grub to get the Void Might spawns, but of course, if you can get all 6, it just feels fantastic. Peanut is the first one up here in that Herald, Baron, Grub, whatever you want to call it, pit. However, Gen.G will be sending more troops real soon with Peyz farming up underneath the tier 1, as you do have lane control up there for the combo of Delight and Viper. Down in bottom lane, Chovy versus Doran really shouldn't turn into a whole lot, I wouldn't think. Both of these two have unleashed teleports ready to go to join any fight that might break out here in the top side. It's a 4-man move from HLE. They're going to be the first to commit here to this river. If Canyon can steal away even a single grub, that's all they need. He flies into the middle of everybody. The solar flare coming down over the top, but Canyon is already dead. A nice hostile takeover fired back in, but Viper now dies as Peyz takes him out. Lehends drops to Doran, and Peanut has to flash back over the wall. Chovy has finally joined, and Doran has to try to get away, but a double kill back over to the Twitch. He is hiding no longer, and Gen.G, they'll go 2 for 2 with HLE, but the grubs are still on the menu, and they're looking good for Gen.G.
It looks so good to start off with from Hanwha. Delight, a terrific ultimate across the team, buying that space for Viper, and even with the teleport quicker from Doran, it nearly went their way, but Gen.G, they outplay on the fight, and it's a double kill for the Twitch.
Twitch, Peyz getting so rich off this play, and the reason it looks good at the beginning is because they also started before Peyz is even there, couple of seconds, so that means Canyon down already, and as you say, the Renata ultimate going over the other two, but once Peyz does arrive, he just burns the back line, and he annihilates them as everyone's trying to get away. He was able to grab that red buff, and then continually double burn them down, that plus the poison, and now you are in a situation where you have all of the Void Grubs, all 6 of them, plus you got the early Dragon as well. It is, again, just so much objective control for Gen.G, plus the huge threat of all the money going into the Twitch, who just funded that Blade of the Ruin King we've been dreading.
And for Doran, I could understand where his head was at. Was like, hey, if I go hyper-aggressive on towards Chovy in that bot lane, he can't TP to the fight. I'm about to go mini Gnar. I haven't got that Mega Gnar available for this next fight. And as he TP'd in, he just wasn't as big of a factor as you traditionally would expect from a Gnar in those engages, and Gen.G do a really good job. And as you say now, Twitch 3-0. I wanted to see this game blow open early, and Gen.G have done exactly that by getting this Twitch so far ahead.
Okay, so the interesting thing I'm looking at here, nearly synced up timers. Whenever we have this state in a game of League of Legends, I'm always so curious as to how the teams are going to play it out. Because Rift Herald's a big one. Everybody always loves fighting over the Herald, but that Drake is going to be spawning just 10 seconds prior. Do you bother committing for the Drake if you know your opponents are going to just zerg the Herald? That's what I want to see.
I do.
Okay.
I'm taking that Drake every day of the week. That is mine. I'm going to keep stacking, because then you think
like a true jungler.
You think about what it's going to do for you in a little bit of the long term, not the immediate future. Like, okay, fine, you know, if a Herald is going to like get you an outer tower or something, but the Drake is going to give you the possibility of drawing the opponents out onto the map, where then you get to use Nocturne, Twitch, Ahri, Aurora for all of this pick potential, Leona even.
Oh, dude.
Like, yeah, look, you can't go anywhere on the map. It's going to be somebody from Gen.G jumping out.
Canyon has
Oh
ult.
no. Yeah, Canyon's about to
Mega Gnar,
ult,
though.
It's a good rush.
Yeah, Mega Gnar saves in there. You just cast the wall up, transform immediately on the spot. If that Gnar bar would have been just even slightly shy of it, that is an easy kill for Canyon. But very fortunately for Doran, he gets away from it, stays alive to see another day, as Gen.G, again with control over the mid lane, going to push that wave up, rotate into the bot side river, rotate towards the Drake that Kobe's talking about. You want to use to bait them into these open fights. First turret dropping at the same time. You can see the information on the top top of your screen as we just now crest the moment where the turret plates are gone. It's a 5-3 plate advantage for HLE, but Gen.G pretty much making up for that difference in golden plates by grabbing the first turret 30 seconds before HLE can respond in the top lane with Zeka's Smolder, and now the second Drake goes the way of Gen.G as well with the gold dead even, and Zeka at just past that second breakpoint here, 145, only needed 125 for that second transform, so still stacking forward, and I feel like he's going to need to hit that ASAP to make sure they're staying on pace with this scaling Twitch.
Yeah, certainly is. I mean, you know, going with the Sojin for the super cooldown reduction, so you can just try and stack there. As well, HLE, again, we mentioned it last time, but when they are down on the map, they're usually going to just instantly not try and waste time and go for their counterplay on the other side. And they're like, fine, we'll take our consolation prize, we'll get that top tower, we'll keep ourselves competitive in gold at least, we'll try and build ourselves up so that at least we can have the hope of our dream comeback fight. And this time around, you know, it actually might be Delight being at the center of it again, in a sense that you kind of saw at the Grub fight, where it's a kite backwards into some counter engage, and Renata ultimate has the possibility of being huge. But it is really hard to cover all of the angles that this Gen.G comp can come at you from, since they can literally come at you from 360 degrees with their mobility and with the invisibility gems. And so as the map opens up and those outer turrets go down, you really do have to cover 360 degrees with all of your wards, like warding every flank and trying to clean out all the Gen.G vision and trying to mark every single champion on the opponent's squad. And so you keep yourself competitive in gold for HLE, and then you try and have that big team fight for yourselves to blow up in the game again and show they can do it.
And I think a lot of that relies on having the DPS behind Delight's wave, which is going to be from Zeka in this regard. And he needs to be in the side lanes farming. So I'm curious now if Gen.G try to start hitting on towards wherever Zeka is on the map, just putting him behind. You could already see Canyon was sitting down towards that bottom side with Kiin, but now with Hanwha opening up on mid with this Rift Herald, everyone in Gen.G is coming across, even Peyz.
Ooh, Glacial Prison, not going to find a whole lot. You can see they threw it out. They wanted to see if they could catch Peyz by surprise there because the mom summoned up too. But considering it just barely misses, there's not a whole lot of punish. And that's two big spells down for HLE. So don't be expecting them to do a whole lot more until those cooldowns are back.
And that Herald really well defended by Gen.G as well. So now you get to go back out onto, hey, we're pushing sides. We're trying to play for these picks, trying to make things very awkward for Hanwha on the map. And with 2.5 minutes until Dragon, there's plenty of moments to get push out, maybe shift over towards that top side, or even again look for these plays on towards the overexposed Smolder, who's just down on this bottom side. Like, even look at where Peanut is on the map. All he wants to do is sit here beside this Smolder to guarantee that Zeka can farm without being under any sort of duress.
And I think there's a lot of pressure on Peanut's shoulder to be the difference maker in this game. You know, frontline for HLE, they have the possibilities to completely disrupt the Gen.G game plan. Him and Doran, especially when both of them have their flashes ready, have the possibility to set up their team for success. And you see a lot of their vision invested on the top half of the map with all those control wards. Maybe, you know, there's some sort of like flank route or something there for them to get a little bit of jump towards mid. But currently, Gen.G, they just focus on the other side of the map. Again, always way far ahead of objective spawning. They go so deep, set up their vision, try and keep their Dragon priority alive and keep that threat building.
Okay, so Gen.G might have Dragon priority in the traditional sense that we think of those words, but Zeka and the rest of HLE's Dragon priority is on these last 30 stacks that they need. He is getting so close to the 225 breakpoint, and I feel like when they hit that, that might be when we get to see HLE punch back a little bit. That might be when we get to start to see what you were talking about earlier with this stronger front line that still has some artillery behind it that could force Gen.G into an uncomfortable fight.
But Gen.G have done such a good job this series of continuously stacking Drakes to deny those opportunities for Hanwha to like scale or find ways to open up on the map and trade up in favor of getting Zeka this gold. And again, with this is an Inferno soul. Gen.G have high rolled to all hell with the souls they managed to get this day. But it does mean that you have to fight them and you have to come at them. And for Gen.G, I think you're pretty happy with that, because look at this Smolder, the second item not even completed. We should have it on reset, but it's also a build that comes on much later because you haven't gone for that Triforce to try and hit that breakpoint in the mid game.
And Peyz also already has the Hurricane here, so the Twitch just gets to melt multiple targets from a very safe distance with the ultimate, and kind of leverage the Nocturne vision even more, because you can just be so far out of reach of opponents that you end up getting to free fire in these team fights. And we'll see Gen.G once again. Here they go. They set up way ahead of time and see if they can get the advantage. HLE though, looking to fight back. They've got the brute force. They get their mid lane push first before transitioning into river. I would definitely like for Peanut to be with the rest of the squad here though. Yeah, there we go. Get yourself a tankier member on the front line. And here we go.
Peyz is still creeping around on the Twitch. Wants to make sure he can get that chance to open up. Kiin will be the last one to join the rest of Gen.G here in the bot side river. The Gnar separated from the rest of the team. Doran's about to transform back from Mega Gnar. This is not a good state for HLE to try to go in for a fight. They wanted to try to grab Lehends. There's the handshake with Mom over the top, and Zeka gets the first kill. They're trying to go between worlds. Kiin's in the front of everybody, and Peyz is free firing. The kills start coming in for both sides. Make it 3 for Peyz. 2 of them picked up by Chovy, though, as Peanut and Zeka try to get away. A triple for Chovy, and Peanut's the last man standing. Chovy cleans them up. A quadra kill for the Gen.G mid.
Kiin is putting the fish in the barrel for Peyz and Chovy to knock them down. Gen.G wanted one fight, and my God, did they get it.
They certainly did. They get the dragon and they get the smolder. So both dragon's flowers, everything taken care of, including 2 turrets afterwards. Just insane how much they get off this. But Peyz, I want to highlight around the top, flanks on the Twitch. So even though Lehends is down, as you say, Aurora ultimate groups them up, and Peyz opens up from the top side, out of vision of the enemy team. Nocturne ultimate goes off, and Chovy just going free and rampant here on the Ahri, chases them all down, gets the last little bit of the kill here for the quadra on his Ahri. Reset after reset.
I mean, this has to feel good for Gen.G. The revenge for the finals in the LCK, but heartbreak coming through from the Hanwha coaches. Just having this moment where you can fight back when it was supposed to be yours, and Hanwha came out and snuck it away from you. Gen.G have a lot to prove here against them today.
Yeah, and I like what they've shown. They've committed to this core of Nocturne turning out vision. You know, Canyon being a real strong point person for the double AP carries that they lock in over and over and over again. And I really like the execution as well, as Chovy gets a little bit frisky with the mid lane here.
Well, Viper tried to catch him with the Chains of Corruption since that's already down, and Chovy already had to use the ulti to escape it. He feels fine trying to scrap with the rest of the cooldowns as Canyon and Lehends have to try to get away now. They try to flash out to survive the Glacial Prison. Peyz is firing into everybody, but he's finally caught. Zeka kills him. Gen.G has overextended, and they are punished for it.
Doran, huge with the Gnar there. He's not going to let that happen again. To go straight for Peyz, knocks him in. They get to Kiin down, Peyz down. Hanwha Life not going to go out without a fight.
This Runan's Twitch, though, still got the damage done. That could have potentially been Hanwha turning over towards the Baron, but blinking health bars on Viper, on Delight, on so many of these Hanwha's members means that, yes, it's some kills, but you don't get the objective afterwards.
And look at the timing window here, because it is very close. Peyz is there. He is waiting. He wants to open up. He sees all these abilities used. He's like, there's no Sejuani ultimate. And boom, Kiin comes in, but Doran says, not on my watch. And they instantly shut them both down. And like you're saying, a couple more autos, boom, the whole team is just destroyed right there. So again, the instant turn to immediately go for both of them. Flash used from Doran, but that was a very worthwhile flash.
The way that it looked, 1 auto kills 2 of them, and then there's not even enough for the remaining 3 guys to fight. It would have been a total wipe. Absolutely clutch to not let Peyz get away with that. HLE doing everything they can to try to stay within striking distance in this game that, just like the first 2, Gen.G has been in charge of so far.
So our gold difference powered by AWS, seeing the split here and the way the last ones have gone. This one, of course, as you guys keep on mentioning, that possibility of Smolder continuing to stack up. A lot invested there, but a Nocturne ult on him.
Yep, Canyon has found his target here with Zeka's Smolder. Mom summoned. Maybe it would have been enough to save him just from Nocturne, but not from the backup too. Kiin will be the one to take the kill as Peyz also provides additional damage. Gen.G now with a 5v4 for the next 30 seconds.
Mom not going to save you from these bullies.
No.
They finish the job there. Smolder down, stops the stacking for now as well. Meanwhile, this map just is so hard for HLE to play, again, because there is so much of a possibility of these Gen.G 360-degree flanks coming from anywhere. You really have to have towers to help defend and control wards to help defend your movements. So anybody that's out like that on a side lane, that's a very repeatable thing we just saw. And that's why we keep hyping up this Gen.G map play available with this comp.
And when Zeka gets 360 no-scope 30 seconds before Dragon's out, he needs to TP back out onto the map, because otherwise Gen.G just get to pull the trigger once more. 8 seconds until Canyon's here. Zeka not out on the map. Even Doran's resetting. He just went mega too, so needed to clear out the way, but it means that coming into this, Hanwha have to buy time before this Gnar can have an impact. No flash available as well to try and threaten Peyz.
Okay, so the rapid fire cannon being completed for Zeka, I think is really big. Allows him to try to poke these guys a little bit before the hard commit comes out for Gen.G. But it's so scary since Peyz can always be anywhere, everywhere, all at once. Not a good place to have to try to defend against. Canyon getting caught initially there by the Glacial Prison. Loses about half HP, but not close enough to death to force him all the way back.
To buy time, though, for Doran to get that Gnar bar filled up. Wants to try and get on towards the backline. Peyz in a very good spot, though, between all these members of Gen.G.
Yeah, Lehends wanted to go in there with a Zenith Blade, but he ain't gonna find the angle. Doran ready to transform. Gnar bar charged. Gets charmed, though. Snot Bubble hits Lehends. There goes Mom. A little bit more damage by doing it. Viper grabs the kill. The Drake also secured by HLE. Beautiful start of the fight so far, as Chovy can't get anything else done. No charges left in the Spirit Rush. HLE played that wonderfully.
The poke is beautiful from HLE, and Viper finds the final snipe there to take down Lehends. They get the dragon, they deny a dragon's soul, and they deliver again on this series.
And this is why I think as this game starts to go on, it becomes more and more difficult for Gen.G to play. You don't really have a very tanky front line that can immediately go into a Mega Gnar, into Peanut. Delight also being able to buy space. It means you can play for these backline threats with the Varus poke, the Mom ultimate across the top. It makes it difficult for Gen.G to find these openings for Peyz if they're not on the objective first.
And you don't get time to just stand around there at the fight, because we saw how much damage the poke is going to do. You're going to lose out, win percentages very quickly with every skill shot that's going to land on you, every little bit of poke damage. So the decisions have to be instantaneous to go for.
Zeka approaching 300 stacks here, gets away from the charm, but Peyz has already opened up on Viper. Now you gotta be careful, because Delight is about to die too, and Doran's caught between worlds. Chovy and Canyon ready to follow up as the Gnar can't transform in time. Flashing away with the Sterix gauge active, throws a boulder right back to him. Peanut still looking for maybe an angle as Mom comes in, but Chovy's gonna be protected by the shield. HLE lose their AD carry, but nothing more.
Hanwha protecting Doran there was crucial, because that would have been Gen.G turnover to Baron. May still look for it as a TP comes back in.
Yup.
Zeka needs to teleport back into this equation to make things more even for Hanwha.
The teleport seals the deal. Baron's the target. Gen.G already got it down to about half. Doran here on the front line. Baron at 6k HP. HLE piling in. Lehends tries to get away. Doran still at about half HP now as Peanut has to fully escape. Arctic Assault backwards.
It's
Baron
so low.
still aggroed at 3,000. Doran still trying to transform. He needs to go into Mega Gnar. Peanut's behind the wall into the pit, but the Baron's going to be secured by Canyon. Now HLE trapped between a wall and an enemy team. Canyon gets the kill on Doran, and Chovy goes over looking for a little bit more. They want to kill the Smolder, and Zeka pops. They all drop, and it looks like the hopes are done, dead and gone for HLE. Gen.G with a home run.
Oh, Canyon clutches the smite, and then Chovy clutches the team fight. Here's another look at how low they get. Poked again inside this Baron pit. Lehends is forced to flash away, and you can see it burning down there, so close to execute range. Baron trying to finish him off too, and then Chovy still full HP on the Ahri. He moves up, and he actually puts so much pressure on the less of the DPS of Hanwha that Canyon is allowed to stay in. on the Baron smite. He secures it, and then Chovy goes in with the rest of his charges to finish it off. What a duo there. Really clutch on the Baron fight, even with all the extra damage that had been received by the rest of Gen.G members, they pull it off.
The flash from Kiin was so sick as well, because it gets him out of the pit, right for Doran. I like that. He just, please tell me I'm seeing this correctly. We did come out on top. But yes, Gen.G outplaying in the moment, and now a Baron up a 4,000 Red Bull Baron power play. And a minute and a half until Seoul. They just get to keep pushing in these waves, push Hanwha into their own base, and then fall back and collect another prize. And that has to be the nail in the coffin for Hanwha in this series.
I gotta respect Hanwha for fighting back, for making this as close as they have. But Gen.G just showing the level of coordination. They know they can trust in Canyon to land those smite secures. They can put themselves in these spots where they're unafraid of HLE's challenge. Even though they've got this level 16 Smolder, even though he's got 325 stacks, Peyz' Twitch, 6, 1, and 5. Highest kill participation of anyone on the team. Yes, it's only by 1, but it's still first place. He's doing great.
And that's the thing, we focused a lot on like Canyon and Chovy in that fight, but it was Peyz who assassinated Viper, who got him caught out with Canyon to start off that play that set this whole rigmarole in motion. And it's Peyz that has really been stepping up on this Twitch to find those clutch moments. And Hanwha, you can tell they just aren't used to playing against that potential invisible threat just lurking in the darkness.
Peyz, a rat all along. Able to jump out, make a clutch pick. He's one of us. All right, can they close it though here? Gen.G now with massive lead.
Oh, HLE walks way too close to the brush, and there's no way out for Delight with Renata down. That's your big anti-engage mechanism. That's your chance to try to turn it around if Gen.G jump on you, and he's out of the picture. It's an easy Infernal Soul, no contest. This goes over to Gen.G now, and I feel like Hanwha's chances have nearly completely disappeared.
Yeah, you're talking about nails in the coffin. They've got the nail gun out, and they're just spamming nail after nail after nail. Yep, that's gonna be
new Twitch coming in soon. DIY Twitch.
Another one bites the dust, and another objective here. So, who will be the next one picked? It looks right now like Doran's gonna be the next one picked.
Am I allowed to bet? Is it too late?
I think the betting window, no, the betting window is closed on this one. That is it for Doran. 50 seconds on the respawn clock. Peyz just creeping through the mid lane here, invisible, marking that ward that he just saw placed down. Rune and Hurricane makes it so easy to farm up the wave as well. Peyz now with the completed Mortal Reminder should just shred every single health bar on HLE. They're pushing that top lane with Chovy right now. They still don't have a whole lot of super extra power, I guess, to work with through the Baron. It's already dissipated. The Elder's not going to spawn for another 5 minutes, but they don't really need a mega buff right now. They're ahead 8,000 gold. They've got an Infernal Soul. That's a mega buff on its own, as now the Glacial Prison immediately finds Chovy upon teleport, but the counterattack is there. Peyz is hitting everybody. He flashes, he cleanses, and he ends everybody on HLE. Exactly like we said. Peyz on the Twitch. He came into the game with 100% win rate on it. He's gonna leave the game with 100% win rate on it. Gen.G is gonna show HLE that the finals are not the rule, but they are the exception. This squad has controlled the Korean League of Legends scene for a damn long time, and they're showing that they're looking to keep that rolling in Worlds as they punch their ticket to the quarterfinals.
The golden road might have been paused, but Gen.G want to make sure Hanwha know that they still deserve to be on top when it comes to the world stage.
Incredible showing from Gen.G, getting some revenge against HLE for the LCK finals. Desk, what are we thinking?
We're just as excited as you are. By the way, it is so nice to have you here, Captain Flowers, Chovy, of course, you as well. But I could just hear
Not Dagda. Sorry,
Not
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Yeah, he's been here. Okay,
Dagda,
go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Your old news pal.
But my God, what a wonderful microcosm of a game to watch for so many reasons. But I think two of the main reasons were Peyz and Chovy in that crucial team fight that we're going to take a look at immediately, right? And they show exactly what they wanted to do with their comp. And the Twitch is something that Peyz likes a lot. And in this composition, it's beautiful.
And I just think it's so insane how well the Nocturne enables the Twitch, because if you can't spot the Twitch flank, it is so hard to react to it. So it's kind of playing the role of what we would normally see a Kennen play in this situation. I think it's so brilliant and so well played from Gen.G.
And while Chovy ultimately gets so many of the kills, Peyz deserves a lot of praise, because coming out of that final, Peyz was the guy who got a lot of criticism. He's frequently under a lot of scrutiny on this team, surrounded by so many legends, but this was a fantastic game in a clutch to bring out the Twitch in a composition that we haven't seen on stage before. And you can see they're feeling it, and it's looked so good. Yeah, one or two hiccups here or there, but mostly really fantastic use of the vision denial Nocturne brought, fantastic use of the Aurora controlling space, and Peyz pretty much always where he needed to be.
Yeah, pixel perfect in those team fights, something that we said maybe HLE can get the upper hand if they are at the driving wheel. Wait, is that what you said?
If they're
Steering
driving.
If they're driving. But they couldn't. Dracos, you brought it up as well, right? That in a best of 5 that we saw last, it was HLE dropping the first one with Gen.G, winning the 2 thereafter.
Yep.
So unfortunately, the end. This is the end of the road for that match
by the
for
best
HLE.
of 3.
They are countered by the best of 3. Now, the way that Zeka talked about it, he called it a jinx. I hope they don't feel like they're re-jinxed on like winning game 1 and then immediately collapsing. I hope that this is not shaking the mental at all for this team, because I still feel like they played incredibly well. This is over the course of the year, again, I think it's important to highlight that usually Gen.G are monstering every lane. That was not the case in the series, has not been the case at Worlds. They're still mortal, it's safe to say.
HLE is not out yet, but it's Gen.G that's in the quarterfinals, and Peyz is standing by with Laura in the Verizon post-game interview. And G-Set!
And welcome back to the stage as Gen.G advance to quarterfinals, and I have Peyz with me to talk about this victory. And G-Son, of course. Sangi 축하드립니다. Thank you so much for joining me, Peyz. First thing first, Twitch, we haven't seen this champion since 2020. Tell me about you picking it, especially without an enchanter by your side.
가장 먼저 승리 너무 축하드립니다. 제일 여쭤보고 싶은 게 바로 트위치 픽인데요. 20년도 이후로 처음 월즈에 등장했습니다. 유틸포도 없이 트위치를 등장시킨 그 배경이 무엇인가요?
일단 요즘 메타에서 라인전이 별로 안 중요하다 생각을 해가지고 스왑이 있어가지고 그래서 그냥 밸류 챔프를 찾다가 뭐 요즘 그냥 한타 조합이 게임을 이기는 데 있어서 되게 중요한 것 같아서 트위치를 하게 되었습니다.
We came to a conclusion that because of the lane swap strategy, laning phase doesn't mean anything. So we figured that we should go with the late game value pick and we should comp around the team fights, and Twitch was the answer.
Smart thinking and great strategy here from your side. Also taking revenge on Hanwha Life Esport after what they did to you in finals. Still a close series, but what was the difference maker this time around?
또 그 결승전에 화끈한 좀 통쾌한 복수를 가져오셨는데 굉장히 접전이긴 했습니다. 이번 경기는 어느 점이 잘 풀려서 승리로 마무리 지을 수 있었나요?
일단 1세트를 지긴 했는데 저희가 좀 방심 안 하고 끝까지 집중력을 챙기면 그냥 이길 수 있다고 생각을 해가지고 다시 마음 다잡고 팀원들과 역전하려고 했던 것 같고, 그리고 뭐 저희가 한타 조합을 잘 짜고 그에 맞게 또 한타를 잘 해가지고 오늘 승리를 하게 되었던 것 같습니다.
Although we lost the first game, we were pretty confident that as long as we keep our focus, we'll be able to win. So we wanted to make sure that we're refocusing for the follow-up games in order to make a comeback. And also, we were comping around the team fights. We were outplaying the team fights as well, so we managed to get the win.
I am happy that you felt confidence, because if someone backstage was stressed, it has to be your coaching staff. The fans were vibing, everyone was vibing here, but you made your coaches really stressed throughout the entire series. What do you think they're going to tell you when you see them backstage? How are you guys going to review this?
선수분들은 침착하게 다시 잘하면 이길 거란 확신이 있었다고 하셨지만 사실은 지금 이번 시리즈를 통해서 헬퍼 코치님이 엄청난 대스타가 되셨어요. 이제 경기를 지켜보면서 너무 리얼하게 같이 울다 웃다가 리액션을 잘 해주셔서 모두 그 마음에 공감을 했거든요. 혹시 코치님들께 하고 싶은 말씀이 있으실까요?
일단 헬퍼 코치님이 평소에도 뭐 장난칠 때나 그럴 때 리액션이 너무 좋아가지고 저희 팀원들끼리 놀리긴 하는데 일단 잘 받아주셔서 너무 감사하고, 그리고 코치 감독님들께 너무 감사하다 전하고 싶습니다.
I mean, in real life, we always just pick on him, even though he's our coach, because his reactions is chef's kiss. So I want to say thank you for being so nice and always like being on the receiving end. And also, I just want to say thank you to all of my coaching staff.
Shout out to Helper. Must not be easy, but you guys make it to quarterfinals as one of the favorites, if not the favorites in the tournament phase. How are these expectations around Gen.G waiting on you?
이제 8강을 진출하셨고 아직도 많은 분들이 우승 후보로 꼽고 계십니다. 이제 젠지에게 어느 모습을 또 좀 기대해봐도 될까요?
일단 계속 기대해 주실 만큼 또 기대를 하면 저희가 부응을 할 테니까 기대해 주시면 좋을 것 같고 작년에 아쉽게 8강에서 그쳤는데 이번에는 저희가 바라보고 있는 더 높은 목표를 달성하는 모습을 팬분들께 보여주고 싶고 그래서 열심히 하겠습니다.
If you guys can keep your expectation high, we will also make sure to meet those expectations. So thank you for your attention and support. And last year, unfortunately, we had to stop our World's journey at quarterfinals. But this year, we're aiming for something even much greater. So please keep supporting us.
Looking forward to Gen.G in the next stage. That's all for us here. Thank you so much, 감사합니다. Peyz, thank you so much. Just an amazing job as always. And that's all for us here on this side of the stage. We'll be right back for another interview tomorrow.
Yes, many more interviews. That was wonderful. Sometimes, Peyz, I know that Laura sometimes says that he has some interviews where he's thinking for a long time, but I think the adrenaline carried him through this one. He was obviously very, very happy.
I mean, how could you not be?
How could
Again,
you not?
I just really want to celebrate the Twitch. He's had a lot of good games so far this tournament. Gen.G as a whole are on a roll, and Peyz is certainly a big part of that.
And I mean, they got revenge for the LCK finals, right? You know, so you get to have that. You get to be the first team, from your region through to quarterfinals as well.
Yeah, and Azale, you actually noticed something in the team fights and the Nocturne. Tell us what you noticed.
So it's one of the cool things when you are playing with ADC Varus, you can go Edge of Night. And so Edge of Night actually does block the Nocturne vision that gets taken away. So this is from Zeka's point of view. Look how hard it is to play this fight. So what needs to happen is you need someone else to take over the shot calling. So now we're going to watch it back actually from the Varus's point of view. So when Nocturne ults, you'll see he loses his spell shield, but he keeps the vision. So from this position then, Viper needs to be the one that actually takes over the shot calling in the team fights and basically drives the car. He needs to tell them, okay, they're coming forward. Okay, back up, finish the dragon, look for a fight, pull back, kite. He needs to give all the directions. So in this spot, he can still see the Leona, he hits the ulti, he gets the kill, he sets them up for success from this position, and it's one of these small interactions that you can really get so much from if you take the maximum advantage that can be there.
And I think this is a situation where if HLE had found one or two more fights where, you saw Doran be able to leap forward and catch out Peyz, they could have been in a position to actually win this game. Of course, in this context, it didn't matter a lot, but when you're looking at these compositions with Nocturne, and I expect we'll see more of them based on the success today, it's a really important interaction to keep in mind. And I'll be honest, not every AD carry that we have at World is going to be up to the task of making these in-the-moment calls. That's a big burden to put on anyone's shoulder, and a really, really cool thing that we're going to be keeping track of.
Now it's making me wonder because I was like, okay, Varus, is that really the best option here? But
you can do Kalista.
Yeah, Peyz played the Kalista the game before.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's there are some options into it, but it is, of course, we saw it's not like a fail-safe forever, right? And it was incredibly oppressive.
Twitch Aurora, Chovy on Ahri, still very lethal.
Twitch
still,
as he pentakills you.
Yeah, you'll know he's killing you. That's
pretty
nice.
Annoying. I do love it because this was a great best of 3 to watch. I'm just going to say it. There were some really cool picks. There's the Nocturne for Canyon 3 times in a row and kind of different combination. And I think kind of, I don't know, the Exodia one and the last one where it all worked out was so cool to see for Hanwha Life. Of course, they are not out of this tournament. This is only their first loss, so they will move on to the 2 and 1 pool to be playing later. So as we close out the day, it's Gen.G that makes it to the quarterfinal, and LNG rather. LNG, breathe, shocks, did definitely make it to the quarterfinals as well. And since we didn't have that much time before because we moved on to the second series, I think that is incredibly impressive. That you come out of a region where it's incredibly stacked. People have high hopes for the LPL, but you gotta say specifically for BLG as being kind of that flag bearer for the LPL region in terms of the hopes of taking it to Worlds, but Scout and the team just do it with a 3-0.
Exactly. I mean, they're able to get through And not only that, but they took down the flag bearer, and now they're the ones carrying it. They're the ones waving that LPL flag as they go through the quarterfinals. First team to get there, 3-0 to do it. You took out BLG, one of the teams that I think a lot of people were saying was going to win Worlds, even above a lot of the LCK teams. And then they looked very, very good here against DK as well. So this team is going to be terrifying in the knockout stage. They weren't a World's favorite coming into Worlds, but it's rarely the number one teams that actually win the tournament. It's always seeming to be some sort of team that is a little bit outside the conversation and then fits the meta, really adapts to it super well. And thus far, it's kind of looking like LNG.
Or a second seed from the LCS.
There you go.
Possible.
Possible.
Now say it for LEC too.
The first seed of the LEC.
Yeah.
Hey, the good thing is...
We need hope. Feed us hope. Please, we need it so badly.
You know what the good thing is? The silver lining here? G2 already played HLE. They don't have to play them again in Swiss. And now they also don't have to play Gen.G.
So now you can get a really easy draw like BLG.
Yeah, you know.
It's not funny.
It's no problem at all.
And after what happened last year with NRG, there are no easy draws.
And then in the 1 and 2 match, it's going to be even better because then you can play the loser of T1 BLG, which is also really easy.
Yeah, it's just...
The draws are all great here. There's so many.
Sunshine.
I don't like being between the two of you. This is too much stress.
Speaking of walking on sunshine, you thought we were done with the best of ones? You
Think again.
Incorrect. Tomorrow we have
Nice try.
4 of them. This is of course our 1-and-1 pool. TES versus Fnatic kicks it off first. No, I'm not on the desk. You do not have to despair. BLG versus T1, then PSG versus Fly, and Weibo versus G2. What are you thinking?
I'm really excited for the LCS match just because this is the rematch from MSI. PSG knocked FlyQuest out of MSI. That was very embarrassing for them. You know, they were the first team to ever in any international event from NA get knocked out in play-ins, and that I think was something that really kind of hurt the pride of FlyQuest. A lot of the young players there also did not play to their expectations. So they really want to be able to get some revenge here. It's a match that they were really hoping they would get, and they have an opportunity. But PCS has been slaying LCS. They knocked us out in MSI play-ins. They knocked 100 Thieves out at Worlds play-ins. If they beat FlyQuest again, it's just like, all right, okay.
All right, and also the rematch versus MDK did not look hot for MDK. So I don't think
he's really good.
Yeah, I think the first best of 3 was false data. I'm not taking anything away from MDK, but PSG had not the right meta read. They it didn't feel like it was them. They have leveled up. Maybe they are again that Korean killer. Who knows? But they're going up against FlyQuest first. Well, for our European brethren, that's myself. What am I saying? My European brethren.
Yeah.
Fnatic versus TES. I've seen this a couple of times before. At MSI, I saw it actually.
I'm really nervous. Fnatic, I need you to come in strong.
Good.
Strong mental.
Come on.
Bitta. Strong mental.
Strong mental.
Boys, you can do it. If you collapse, we know what that looks like. Don't do that. Let's do the thing where we're like...
Do the winning.
Do the winning thing,
which
is an oversimplification, but I need something simple and straightforward. And maybe you do too. You know, we can all.
It's looked good.
Yone looks great. More Yone.
Incredible.
And G2, I'll say the same. I said at the beginning of the Swiss stage, if you have these lofty aspirations, it's put up or shut up. You gotta beat Weibo. You gotta. That's just it. And if you have any aspirations, there is no other way but beating them. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but this is really the final hour for you to start showing what you've practiced
It is a glorious opportunity to be able to get a win versus an LCK or an LPL team in a best of 1. That is a very doable task and has been throughout the history of Worlds. When we get to best of 3, much, much more difficult. So get the wins in the best of 1s while you can, please.
And the only match we haven't touched on is BLG T1, which is just insane.
It's a shame it's a best of 1.
It's a best of 1, and one of these teams is going to be 1 and 2. And one of those teams, it's like you're either 1 BO3 from getting knocked out of Worlds. If that happens to either team, that's a massive upset. And the other side of that coin is that you are going to be a killer in those bottom matches because you're going to be going down to BO3. One of these teams will be 1 and 2, and then 2 teams are going to have to run into them, assuming they qualify through, in the BO3s.
I don't want to think about that. I like to live in the present.
It is scary down there.
I like to live in the present where things are still possible that I like.
I really liked that idea until I realized mostly it would be our teams in that bracket.
Yeah, we're the ones
I was
down
like,
there drinking.
how cool is it that T1 or BLG just get to dream crush their way through the rest of Swiss? Wow,
You're like,
that's
wait,
so,
those are my dreams.
That's so sick. Like, yeah, those are our
Those are
dreams.
my dreams.
Those are our dreams.
Don't do that to my dreams. Do that to your
There's
dreams.
someone else.
I need those dreams.
We actually have a bracket graphic. Would have been nice whilst you were trying to explain everything, but I'll pull it up now for you, Zale. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah,
See,
here we
there
go.
we are. I mean, it's we
lot
have
of info.
obviously the 0 and 2 matches. Those teams already are do or die. But the 1 and 1 teams, you know, half of those are going to be dropping down. And just, yeah, again, BLGT1 is terrifying. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, and we get a draw again at the end of Monday, so
Yep.
that's cool. For best of ones tomorrow, next draw will be Monday, October 7th. That's after the final series concludes. We're gonna make sure that everything's
And it's all best of
In
threes
order.
after tomorrow. It's just those are
Exactly.
the last 4 best of ones, then it's all best of threes. So
Yes.
losing a single game no longer will feel as bad.
as bad.
Oh, it'll feel bad.
It will. But as long as you don't lose 2 consecutively, you're really good for a decent amount of the tournament.
Nope, you're still going to be stressed.
They're still
Thank you, Isaac.
No
yapping.
problem.
Yapping. That's it for us. We'll be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. CEST as we have been. That is 8 a.m. Eastern US. Bye-bye.
Bye.
To get their grubs, can they finish the last one? Oh no, they will not! Run, King, and run! Zeka with the solo means he's totally unafraid of any sort of a counterattack. Hung now just also continuing to try to chase. This scout got knocked back over the wall. He misses the abscond and ducked, but Void Seeker problems for DK. Beautiful engage coming out from Hung as LNG follows up. DK just collapsed and LNG hit him right in the ribcage. Aiming trying to get away. They need to lock him up, beat him down. Way finds the kill on aiming, and DK is looking like a graveyard right now. LNG barreling down mid lane, and this is exactly what they needed. Zeka tries to use Fate Seal of the wall, but it's an arrow through his heart. No way to contest that Dragon Soul. Oh my God! Unless Delight goes in for a massive 4-man engage. Gen.G melts before your eyes. Doran is trying to get all the way back to safety. Peanut down to 100 HP. Peyz jumps forward. Kiin gets the kill on Doran, and Chovy goes over looking for a little bit more. They want to kill the Smolder, and Zeka pops, and it looks like the hopes are done, dead and gone for HLE. Gen.G